People mistake dependency for love, but love requires freedom. Erich Fromm. A man can give her everything: safety, structure, stability. And still she walks. She walks not because he failed, but because he didn't understand. Understand what she really needs. Not what she says, not what society tells you. What she feels. That is the battlefield. Love isn't a checklist. It isn't built on provision, protection, or predictability alone. Those are comforts. But comfort isn't chemistry. She longs for something deeper, something primal, something dangerously close to chaos. That's the paradox. You can be perfect on paper. You can do everything right and still lose her. Because love isn't about being enough in the way you were taught to be. It's about being felt in ways words cannot explain. And Fromm saw this long before the modern man felt the sting of confusion. Love, he said, isn't possession. It's not dependency dressed up in devotion. It is freedom, and presence, and choice. Not just yours, but hers. But here's where it gets brutal. Most men don't actually love. They need. They cling. They prove. They show up with gifts and gestures and consistency, and call it love. But it's not. It's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of being unseen. Fear of not being enough. So they offer everything except what's real. Themselves. And when she feels it, when she senses the performance, not presence, something inside her retreats. Not because she's cruel, but because her soul is allergic to falseness. She doesn't want to be owned. She wants to be met, not controlled, not saved, not kept, seen, not with your eyes, with your spine, with your heart unshielded. Fromm taught that real love requires courage, not to dominate, but to dissolve the ego, to risk not being needed, to let go of control, to love her in freedom, not in fear of her freedom. But that terrifies most men, because what are you without control? Without her leaning on you? Without her needing you? That's where the real work begins. Because until you face that emptiness within, the part of you that thinks love is earned through effort, you'll keep showing up as the stable guy who always gets left behind. She doesn't leave because you're boring. She leaves because something's missing. And it isn't status, or muscles, or mystery. It's depth. Depth can't be faked. It comes from pain, from self-awareness, from knowing your own shadows and not flinching. Fromm believed love is a decision rooted in maturity, not a feeling, not a fixation, not a fairy tale. But most modern love is addiction in disguise. We chase people who complete us instead of confronting the parts we've never claimed. And so women leave good men, not because they're bad, but because they're not whole. They've built lives around safety, but not around truth. And a woman with a strong soul, she can feel that. She can feel when your love is a mask. She can feel when your gifts are guilt-wrapped, when your attention is a leash, when your kindness is currency. She doesn't want to be bought. She wants to be bared with. No pretenses, no performances, just presence. You see, freedom isn't just about letting her go. It's about being free yourself. Free from needing her to fill you. Free from narratives that tell you being a nice guy is the path to love. It's not. She doesn't want nice. She wants real. Nice is what boys do to be liked. Real is what men are when they've met themselves. Ask yourself, have you? Have you looked in the mirror without the mask? Without the job title? Without the relationship status? Have you stood naked in front of your own soul and said, "This is who I am, not who I pretend to be"? That's the man she stays for, because that's the man who doesn't need her to complete him. He meets her in freedom. He holds space, not chains. He offers presence, not performance. And in that space, love breathes. But it's hard to hold that kind of space, isn't it? Because everything you've been taught says the opposite. That being a man means being the provider, the protector, the planner, the one who holds it all together, even when he's falling apart. So you suppress, you smile, you play your part, and you wonder why she doesn't feel you anymore. She can't feel you because you've buried yourself beneath performance, But women are intuitive. She doesn't need to read your words. She reads your energy. If there's no fire in your chest, she feels the cold. And she doesn't want to sleep beside ice. Even if the house is warm. Even if the bills are paid. Even if the schedule runs smooth. Fromm understood that love dies in comfort without growth. It atrophies in relationships where truth isn't spoken, where vulnerability is seen as weakness, where depth is avoided like disease. And this is where many men break. Because to give her that kind of love, the real kind, you must become something different. Not less stable, but more alive. Not less masculine, but more whole. That means confronting your own shadows, your own unmet needs. The parts of you that crave control because you fear chaos. But here's the truth you must swallow. Love is chaos. It's unpredictable. It forces growth. It asks you to evolve. Or watch it leave. The man who tries to cage it ends up caging himself. And women? They feel when you've built a prison with polished walls. A beautiful life with no pulse. She might stay for a while. She might tell herself it's enough. She might even believe it. But one morning she'll wake up and feel that something is off. It won't be dramatic. It'll be subtle. A whisper in her gut. This isn't it. And she'll leave. Not to find someone better, but to find herself. Because in staying, she was losing her own fire too. That's the tragedy. Stable men don't get left because they lack value. They get left because they stopped being men and became roles. Husband, provider, pillar, but not human, not a soul. Fromm saw it clearly. That real love cannot grow without two whole people. But wholeness requires honesty. Not with her. With yourself. What are you hiding? Where are you afraid to speak? What truth are you bearing beneath your routines? If you want her to stay, you have to invite her into your truth. Not your perfect. Not your plan. Your truth. The messy parts. The parts you judge. The parts you were taught to keep silent. That's what creates real intimacy. Not the dinners, not the dates, not the diamonds, but depth. And if you're thinking, why would she want to see that? It's because she already does. She already senses it. She just wants you to stop pretending it isn't there. To stop putting a smile over your sadness, a plan over your pain, a routine over your rage. Because love, real love, is built not in perfection, but in presence. But that's rare today. We chase perfection because it's safe. We think, if I can just be perfect, she won't leave. But she doesn't leave because you're imperfect. She leaves because she can't feel you anymore. And when a woman can't feel you, she can't trust you. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're absent. And absence is the slowest kind of betrayal. You're there, but not there. And she's starving for something real. So let me ask you, and I want you to answer in the comments if this hits. Have you ever lost someone you thought you did everything right for? Why do you think that happened? Share it. Don't hold it back. This is how men begin to reclaim their truth. By speaking it. Because silence is where the soul dies. And if we want to build love that lasts, we have to build men who live fully. That doesn't mean louder. It means deeper. It means shedding the armor. Not to become weak, but to become undeniably real. That's what she's hungry for. Not your perfection, your presence. But presence is not just physical. It's energetic, emotional, spiritual. A man can sit beside a woman every day of his life and still feel like a stranger to her. Because his mind is locked in survival. His heart is closed in fear. And his soul has been silenced by years of playing it safe. And safety, the kind we cling to, doesn't breed connection. It breeds numbness. Erich Fromm warned us about this. That modern love is plagued not by absence of effort, but by absence of awareness. Men give what they think women want. Protection, predictability, provision. But what women crave runs deeper. They want your consciousness, your vitality, your aliveness. They want to feel that when they touch you, they're touching a man, not a performance. So many men confuse routine for love. They think being there is enough. They confuse presence with predictability. They give everything except the one thing that matters most, themselves. And slowly, love erodes. Not in a loud explosion, but in quiet withdrawals, missed moments, unspoken emotions, unfelt depth. She stops laughing the same. She stops touching you with warmth. She looks out the window a little longer each morning, wondering if she's dying in comfort. Not because you're a bad man, but because she no longer recognizes the man she once saw fire in. Women leave not because they want more, but because they need something truer. A connection that wakes them up, that challenges them, that meets them there, in that secret place beneath all their masks. And if you're honest, you want that too. You're tired of pretending, tired of the checklist, tired of the emotional scarcity you've learned to accept. You crave something real, someone who sees you, someone who doesn't love the role you play, but the man you are when the role fades. But to be seen, you have to be willing to be seen, to take the mask off, to drop the script, to risk rejection in the name of truth. Fromm believed that love was an act of will, not something that happens to you, but something you become capable of. That means developing the inner world, the strength to sit with discomfort, the courage to own your needs, the maturity to stop expecting love to save you, and start becoming someone who can give it. And giving love doesn't mean pouring yourself out until you're empty. It means showing up with clarity, with depth, with integrity. The man who is full of himself in the right way, not with ego, but with awareness, becomes magnetic. Because she knows, he sees me, not as a fantasy, not as a savior, but as a human, and she'll stay with that man. Not because he offers the most, but because he offers what is real. But most men are afraid of being real, because we've been punished for it, mocked for it, left for it. So we build walls, wear armor, tell ourselves, I'll only be soft when it's safe. But that day never comes, because safety never births vulnerability. Vulnerability creates safety. When you show her what's underneath, the wounds, the fire, the questions, you give her permission to bring hers too. And now, you're not in a relationship, you're in a revelation. Love becomes a mirror, a furnace, a place where two souls rise together, not to escape life, but to live it more fully. This is the difference between stability and stagnation. One supports growth, the other suffocates it. So many men become safe, but not sacred. They become a solution to her practical life, but not a partner in her inner world. And women will always outgrow a life where their soul is ignored. This is why she left. Not because of what you lacked, but because of what you feared to show. And if you've been left like that, blindsided, confused, hurting, you're not alone. But now you're here, and you're hearing this. And something in you knows. It's time. Time to stop playing small. Time to stop hiding behind roles. Time to become the kind of man who can be fully felt. Because love doesn't wait. And the longer you delay this evolution, the more you lose. Not just women, not just intimacy, but yourself. Your real self. The one buried under years of trying to be enough. He's still there, and he's not weak. He's not broken. He's just waiting for you to remember. So how do you remember? How do you find your way back to the man you buried beneath responsibility, fear, and survival? You start by feeling again. You stop numbing. You stop blaming. You stop outsourcing the work to women, expecting them to carry the emotional weight you've been avoiding. Love isn't therapy, and a woman isn't your mother. She's not there to fix you. She's not there to remind you that you matter. You have to meet yourself first, and that takes practice, silence, reflection. It takes sitting in your own discomfort long enough to realize this pain isn't punishment. It's a doorway. A doorway back into your body, back into your heart, back into presence. Because real presence is not passive, it's active, aware, alert. It's choosing to see the woman in front of you as she is, not as a projection, not as a reward, not as a possession, but as a soul. And that kind of seeing only happens when you've dared to see yourself. The man who has looked in the mirror and said, "I am not afraid to feel anymore. I am not afraid to lose. I am not afraid to love." That man is dangerous, not in a destructive way, but in a deeply magnetic one, because he cannot be controlled. He cannot be seduced by approval. He cannot be rattled by rejection. He is rooted. And that is what women search for in the depth of a man. Not his bank account, not his accolades, but his center. His ability to stand still in a storm and say, "I know who I am. You are free to stay. And if you choose to leave, I will not collapse." Fromm knew this. He said love isn't something you fall into. It's something you commit to becoming. It's not about being needed. It's about being known. Because if love depends on your usefulness, it will always expire. But if love is built on presence, truth, and freedom, it expands, it evolves, it matures, it becomes a living thing. Not something you have, but something you are. And when two people arrive in that space, no longer chasing, no longer clinging, they create something holy. But most never get there, because they're stuck in patterns, addicted to roles, afraid of becoming who they were always meant to be. And this is where you come in, because if you've made it this far, there's a reason. You're not here just to listen. You're here because something inside you is waking up. A memory, a fire, a hunger. You've seen what doesn't work. You've felt the emptiness of performance, and now you're ready to go deeper. So let's talk. What resonated with you most in this message? Have you experienced this kind of silent breakup? Not with words, but with distance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is a space for men who are done pretending. A space for truth. And if this spoke to you, if you felt seen, then don't just walk away with a good feeling. Stay connected. Subscribe to the channel. Because this is only the beginning. Every week we break down the inner world, psychology, philosophy, and the hidden forces shaping men's lives. Not with fluff, but with fire. If you're ready to evolve, if you're ready to love with depth, not desperation, then you belong here. Welcome to the conversation. We're just getting started.